So you've been to public school. Maybe you were at private school. But really, I'm just talking to people who have been educated in the West, who have seen Western television, Hollywood, movies. Well, what you've learned from them have been biased views of history, of reality, and completely misrepresentations of reality. I can say this with confidence with just a couple key points. So here are my 3 thoughts of the century, but really they should hopefully be just some thoughts that help you review what you've learned for the entirety of human history and the entirety of human development. Number 1, when a people flee, this indicates one of 2 things. Either they were oppressed in the area that they were leaving, or they believe that they will receive additional benefits in the new location. This means that when minority groups desire to be in Western nations, and when in the past they campaigned for more access, these claims of general unfairness or cruelty that they brought were greatly overstated, because obviously they wanted more access. They weren't fleeing, they were trying to get closer. Most likely, your impression then of past cruelties from Western people are largely false stories. And certainly, the benefit of living among Western people outweighs any concern of unfairness, going back many, many decades. This should really help you to review the motivations of people who do campaign for more access to Western people. They don't do that because Western people are particularly unfair or cruel. Number 2, mass immigration of a different people from the majority is not an act of love by a government, but an act of extreme hatred by that government, in that they completely devalue a people that they rule over. Simply, if a government was well connected to their people, valued those people, valued the nation that these people and their culture define, then overwhelming immigration could never occur. Further, we know that this is a strategy to isolate, confuse, and separate people who are different people with different natures, each group having a unique way of forming their desired communities. This is an encompassing strategy of diversity, though it traditionally is embraced by empires or globalist companies out of pure greed and hate for the people. All people, though, are then subjected to bigger government eventually, with fewer and fewer rights. A diverse nation is not purposefully done for anyone's benefits, certainly not yours, but they are done for the benefit of the elites and a government that wants to be huge, an empire. Like any other reasonable person, I do not hold anyone responsible for wanting to be within Western nations, for wanting to benefit. After all, I've pointed out that it does have clear benefit. The problem, which should disturb you as much as it disturbs me, is that mass immigration policies are coming from the top and offering an indication that these elites have no care for the people that they represent, and they won't care for you either. This is why everyone sees the corruption of our current Western sheltered elites that are purposefully doing something to express hatred and desiring disunity, desiring dysfunction within this nation. Number 3, in-group preference is natural to all people everywhere and defines what a country is. Ideas, resources do not have nearly the effect on forming a country and its ideals that people have in forming what a country is, what it values. The people need to have that value. The people need to have a loyalty to each other, not to some vague idea. And you need to maintain the people to maintain those ideas, to maintain those passions and maintain those loyalties. Now, this is something we can see all over the world. Most people seem to desire their own space, their own community. Now, given how people just naturally function, given what people naturally want, and given that that's a good thing, to have a home, to really feel like you are surrounded by people like you, who you can trust, who you are loyal to, who you would want to benefit, well, then the construction of diversity, or the accusation laid down of racism, is constructed as a fight against human nature, against interests. Right now it's pointed at white people, but it could be pointed at anyone if they would choose. This does mean that you can and will be held guilty for your skin color. Under this system, If you don't take into consideration what it means, you as a person of any race can be made guilty for having basic human nature. No matter what, it is not easy to escape this basic human nature, and if you overcome it successfully, you will be effectively disadvantaging your own people. So yes, on this trajectory, on this basic nature, this acknowledgement of the observable reality, then the accusation of racism can be applied to anyone, and you will be held guilty not for your actions, but for your nature and your skin color, especially. Anyways, those are my 3 thoughts for the century, which should hopefully help to hint at why we are presently in the predicament that we are in, and why what you've learned, the stories you've learned, are not true, as evidenced by immigration patterns, demographic changes within Western nations. So stay strong, and hopefully we can make our way through this.